Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you this morning. We have a couple of guests that are expected, and we'll begin this morning with Terri Averisch and a colleague, Michele Webkin from the Lima YMCA with several announcements. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. We've got some programs that I had talked about, but I want to remind people our T-ball league for 4 years old to 8 years old is starting, and this is the last couple days that they can register for that, and they do go out to Robb Park for that program, and the games begin June 18th, but the teams are forming right now. So it's still time to register for that, and our youth basketball league for 1st to 4th grade.
Are those both boys and girls?
Boys and girls in both of those programs. So, and then we have golf clinics. We have one at Tamarack that's June 11th to the 14th, and then there's one, and that's for boys and girls 6 to 14, and that there's one at the Oaks Golf Course June 25th through June 28th. It's 9:30 to 11 a.m., and they do have to bring their golf clubs. They'll teach them golf etiquette, strokes. They will golf out on the course, teach them terminology, short gameplay. So if they could sign up for either of those courses, it's $75 for members and $80 for non-members. And then we also have a Mom and Me arts class, which is really great for kids, boys and girls, and their moms to participate. And they work on a piece of acrylic art, or they've made pillowcases with paintings on them. And it's $10 for that art project, which is pretty much the cost of the project, or $20 for non-members. And they can register now for that. It's June 9th on a Saturday, and it's from 10 until 12 o'clock. So hope we get a few more registrations for that. We've had 10 couples for that, and or mom and kids, and it's gone really well. And we also have an Oilers volleyball camp. It's a University of Findlay Oilers. You sign up through the University of Findlay. It's their coach and their players that help lead that, but they come to the YMCA and do it. And that's June 18th to 21st. We have flyers at the Y for that. It's a 3-hour workshop every day from the 18th through the 21st. It's $70 for members and $80 for non-members, and it's for boys and girls from 4th to 9th grade. And then I wanted to introduce our newest staff member. It's Michele Webkinz. She's our membership navigator, and the membership navigator connects the Y to the community, going into corporations, health fairs, kind of seeing what is needed at the Y and in the area so we can help provide it if necessary. She's from Columbus Grove, and she attended the University of Toledo and has a degree with a Bachelor's of Marketing. She has over 5 years' experience in marketing and sales, and we're excited to have her as part of our YMCA family. She's got a couple things to announce, too.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be working at the Y. I love everything that the Y represents and what the culture is. So I'm very excited, and thank you, Lima, for welcoming me. I just want a couple of reminders. We have the Herb J. River Run 5K this Friday at 7 o'clock. Non-members, it is $12 if you register before the day of, $8 for members. We did already order t-shirts, but as long as we have any left, we will sell them for $7 a t-shirt. So if you walk, run, whatever you can do, come on out and support the Y. And then next month we have our CUPE 10K race, and that's on June 22nd at 6:30. Same pricing for members. It is $8. For non-members, it is $12. And we will order shirts about the first week in June, so register now to guarantee a shirt. Otherwise, we will order extra, and it will be a little bit of additional for any extra t-shirts. So hope to see you guys all out there. And thank you.
Guaranteeing good weather, right?
Yes, guaranteeing good weather.
Very good. Thank you. And Warner Roach, our streets director, is here to talk about our alley maintenance efforts that are underway. Warner?
Thank you, Dave. Good morning. On May 1st, the City of Lima Street Department kicked off its yearly alley maintenance program. It's going to take a couple of months to get all the alleys graded, stoned, and or patched. So there are a number of alleys. Anybody got any guess of how many alleys that we have in Lima?
263.
Close. It's between 450 and 500 actually. Yeah, we have a lot of alleys to do, and we've been like inundated with calls from the community, like, hey, my I've got holes and everything else. This winter really messed up everything, so please be patient with us. Now, there are a number of alleys in the city that are vacated, private, or actually a private drive and are not maintained by the city. So please keep in mind, by putting too much stone in the alleys, it can cause drainage problems. We've done that before. We get calls and folks, I need stone in this alley, it's crappy and we just need stone, And what that does is, there's a technique to grading these alleys so that the water, when it does rain, the water drains down the alley into a drain. If we go one way or another with it, then that water can actually go in somebody's backyard and then in their basement or whatever. So it's really important that, we have the right amount of stone, the right grading on these alleys. A lot of people call and say, hey, I need stone, and we just can't arbitrarily go and put stone in the alleys without grading and checking it out. The maintenance program is for unpaved alleys only, and if you have a paved alley that needs patched, please call our street department, 419-221-5165.
You want to describe what's been done so far and where you're at?
We have completed about 25% of the alleys. We are currently, we're on the east side and we're headed south. And once we get out south, because our maps go, we could be out south and then we're supposed to go somewhere else, but once we get out there, we like to hit them all. It's a smart thing to do. And once we do that, then we're going to head west. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, today, John Payne from the Law Department's here to address an issue that began with a fairly dramatic event, which was the roof that blew off the Royal Inn about a month ago. And really, we were very fortunate not to have someone killed as that occurred. And the city has been, with various departments, police, fire, and public works, along with the law department, taking a look at our options. And Mr. Payne's here to talk about a legal filing that's been taken.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday afternoon, the City of Lima Law Department filed a 490-page lawsuit in the Allen County Court of Common Pleas. If anyone's interested in what that looks like, this is actually the double-sided version of that. We filed that in the Common Pleas Court alleging that the owner of the Royal Inn at 418 West Market Street, alleging that the premises constitutes a public nuisance under Ohio law and the city ordinances. As all of you are aware, after the Royal Inn's structure, the roof structure was blown off on April 4th, city officials conducted a joint inspection with the state fire marshal. During this joint inspection, 11 fire code violations and 9 property code maintenance violations were issued. The Lima building official declared the structure unsafe and declared the structure unsafe and ordered an evacuation of the residents. Lima's property maintenance department posted the structure unfit for habitation or human occupancy. During the inspection, it was obvious that many residents were living in the hotel as their primary residence, not a temporary dwelling. The premises has been used for felony drug violations and illegal sexual activities. The Lima Police Department has had over 452 calls for service at the premises since January 2016. The Lima Fire Department has had 60 emergency medical calls, 13 of which involve suspected drug overdoses at the premises. Since 2013, the state fire marshal has issued 47 fire code violations ranging from non-functioning smoke alarm detectors to infestation of bugs. Given the gravity and the longevity of these nuisance activities at the Royal Inn, the City of Lima has asked the court for an order for the owner of the Royal Inn to abate the nuisance and alternatively for the appointment of a receiver to determine whether demolition of the property is the appropriate method to remediate the nuisance. And I'll be available for any questions afterwards if there are any. I don't know if anyone else.
So, John, the issue for us is the property owner will have to demonstrate both the willingness and capacity to fix it.
Yes, essentially what the city is asking is for the court to order abatement of the nuisance, to order the owner to fix the property up, or in the alternative, to have an independent third party essentially assess, is the owner capable of doing that, or is demolition in the best interest of the city and the ultimate end result. So yes, that's what we're intending to ask, and we fully intend to pursue this with the full force of the law department. And as a thank you to all of the support staff, this 490 pages could not have been completed without the support of all of the city departments pitching in and researching their records and assisting the law department. And we look forward to working with them in the future at any court hearings.
I will just say that on behalf of the Lima Police Department, we are fully supportive of this action. This certainly would never be our first desired course of action in a case like this, but our efforts to mitigate the crime problems through other methods have just not been successful. So we are grateful to the law department for their willingness to help take this action.
Oh yeah, just real quick. When this is just one of the steps in this process, what's going on with that building. When that roof blew off back in early April, it was a multi-agency looking at it, as far as the State Fire Marshal's Office, the Lima Fire Department, the Building Department, for Lima Building Department, the Code Enforcement Department, and the Law Director's Office. And that building is a 3-story building. We only went through the top 2 stories, and we've seen enough after the top 2 stories. There were numerous fire code violations, building code violations, long-term living in the facility. One of the residents said that they lived there for 7 years. And this is a motel hotel, and the maximum occupancy for a length of time is really 30 days in a room in the state of Ohio. So after the adjudication order for vacating that premises was, I believe, issued the same day by the building department, and they was given a 3-day notice to vacate that building. The building right now is in pretty serious condition. We did find numerous bed bugs, cockroaches, people cooking in the facility within their rooms, and it was an eye-opener. The building, as far as hotels and motels within the city of Lima, as far as their inspections, is under the State Fire Marshal's Office. And Bill Bear from the State Fire Marshal's Office is there. We discussed with the owner that day several options for him, and one of the options we did discuss was the possibility that he may have to demolish the building. So.
Very good. Carl?
I think the long list of problems with this building are evident through the filings that the law department has made. I can't think of a more poignant example than the failure of the roof, which was put on without plan review, without a permit, in full ignorance of the commercial building code. I think that is such a stark example of why building codes need to be respected, why building owners have responsibilities, and just am certainly grateful that we did not have a fatality due to that failure of following the building code process and the failure of the roof itself. So again, certainly want to compliment the law department in taking this action and look forward to this being remedied. Thank you.
Lastly, I'll just make some comments about an opportunity I had last week. I was part of a delegation of some 30 individuals from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois that traveled to the headquarters of Virgin Hyperloop 1, which is in Los Angeles, and then the next day we were out in the Mojave Desert north of Las Vegas for a visit to the test site for the company. And this really was an eye-opening kind of experience to see the actual working technology for this really revolutionary transportation system. I want to emphasize that we have, first of all, the background has been that Lima has been working with partners along our rail corridor of what was the former Conrail line, which stretched, we used to, again, just go back a couple of decades. Lima once had Amtrak service that connected us to both Chicago and to Washington, D.C. and New York. It was called the Broadway Limited train and the Capital Limited. In 1990, Amtrak was leveraged off of the Conrail line, and as a result, Conrail and then its successor owners, CSX, took what had been a double-track system all the way along and reduced it to single trackage. In some portions of the Indiana line, literally conditions deteriorated to where trains could go no faster than 20 miles an hour. So the line has substantially deteriorated over time, even for freight purposes. Notwithstanding that, the city of Fort Wayne and Lima have been continuing to pursue the opportunities for passenger rail service to be reestablished. And we have been attempting to pursue first high-speed passenger rail, as it's generally being implemented both around the world but also in the United States, most recently on the Brightline rail in Florida, which just got started up. Which would be a train that runs at about 125 miles an hour. So in order to facilitate that opportunity, we have now, with community partners, metropolitan planning organizations along the line, we are engaging in engineering studies for an environmental impact statement, which is the required step for Federal Rail Authority to evaluate the conditions of the line and forecast the needed capital upgrades. In addition to that study, through the efforts of the Metropolitan Planning Organization in Columbus, in particular, an organization called MORPSI, in the fall of 2016, they assembled a team and put together a response to a global invitation from Virgin Hyperloop 1 for proposals for what would be Hyperloop lines around the world. There were 2,600 submissions. And then in the spring of 2017, a year ago, those were narrowed down to roughly 25 around the world, 10 in the United States of that 25. And the route from Chicago to Fort Wayne to Lima to Columbus and Pittsburgh was one of those 10. And I was pleased then in the spring last year to actually be a part of the team that made the pitch in Washington to the company about the virtues of this line. We have continued to progress. and continue to actually advance this line. And the visit last week was part of that. There are now 4 remaining routes in the United States that are being considered. The route that I've described as the Chicago to Pittsburgh line is one. The others are one in Florida from Orlando to Miami, one in Missouri and Kansas that essentially goes down the public right-of-way of Interstate 70. And the final is in Colorado that essentially is oriented north-south, linking the major cities essentially on the east side of the Rockies. Those 4 are the competitive opportunities in the United States. So what we learned during our trip last week was several things of importance. First, the company will be breaking ground on 2 projects next year in Dubai and in India. Those are both countries that where the regulatory regime is obviously far less than the United States. They have less property rights issues to contend with. So they expect actually to launch these projects next year. Also next year, what the company has in its test facility now is a half-mile long test tube, but they will be building a tube next year that will be 15 miles long, and it will be certified for human beings to ride as passengers. I raised my hand. I truly I'll pay the ticket to ride that. So the opportunity is very real. They're demonstrating the technology in a practical way, and they're also really finessing the business aspects of this. This will be a combination freight and passenger system. And the way to think about it is that this is not a train. You need to think about this as a interstate in a tube. So when you think about an interstate, you think about flowing traffic, right? You think about entrances and exits, with no stop in that flow. So that is the same experience that will be inside this tube, except it's at 700 miles an hour. And the comfort targets that they have for the riders is the same as if you're in a jet aircraft. Essentially, your sense of speed, there will be some obviously as you accelerate, but once you're at traveling speed, you really don't know you're going anywhere, right? Your sense of relative speed has disappeared. And then as you are decelerating, you again have some sense of the speed. Another thing I'd like to emphasize, in which they emphasized, is the fact that unlike with trains where you have to have limited number of train stations, this system will permit many entrances and exits. Again, just like the interstate, which means that all along the route, many communities will have the opportunity to directly interface with the system. And it truly can be a really transformative opportunity for us. And there is significant capital behind this. The chairman of this company is Richard Branson, who's the chairman of Virgin Airlines in Great Britain. And there are other also deep-pocketed individuals who are the the source of the money for the company. So it's a for real corporation with a real technology that they're demonstrating and beginning to roll out in projects. So the last thing I'll mention is that in addition to that environmental impact statement engineering work that's going on for high-speed passenger rail, we are also issuing through this team headed through MORPSI a contract for a feasibility study with a national engineering firm, which will be run in parallel. So both of these studies will be conducted over the next year. The data that comes from both will inform both, and so we expect to see results from that in a relatively short period of time, and that'll all be done in conjunction with Virgin Hyperloop 1. So I think that's all that we have for this morning, and we'll break down for interviews. Thank you.